Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be guiding you through how to snipe on Apex Legends. I'm going to be focusing on the Kraber and the longbow as the G7 and the triple take are a little different. So first of all, let's talk about the basics. The Kraber is a supply drop pickup with 12 rounds total. It has a 4-round magazine with a fire rate of 36 rounds per minute. It has a base damage of 125 to the body, no matter what the armor, and a headshot damage of 250. It also does 95 damage to the legs if you shoot below the torso. Next up, we have the longbow, which has a 5-round magazine, a fire rate of 88 rounds per minute, at least double the Kraber. It has a base damage of 55 and a headshot damage of 110. With the Skull Piercer addition, this increases the headshot multiplier to 2.5 times instead of 2. It does around 40 damage to the legs. Now, it's important to note that in Apex Legends, body armor makes no difference to chest shot damage and purely just increases your health pool. However, different variants of helmets reduce the damage taken to the head. So a level 1 helmet, white, reduces damage by 10%, a level 2 helmet, which is the blue, decreases it by 20%, and a level 3 and 4 helmet, which is the purple and gold, increases damage reduction to the head by 25%. This means that someone wearing a level 3 or level 4 helmet with full health will survive a headshot from a Kraber, which is 185 damage. Let's talk about how to hit moving targets. In Apex Legends, there is projectile physics, and this means that the round does not instantly hit where you are aiming, meaning you need to adjust your aim based on distance and movement. The best way to hit a moving target that is running in a straight line is to hold your aim where you think they're going to run and fire so that they run into it. A lot of newer players try to track the enemy directly and then move their aim as they're moving. This is less consistent. You also have to remember that the first shot is the most important. As soon as you fire that first shot, the enemy will stop moving in a straight line and start to move erratically. If the target is further away, the first shot also gives you an indication of how close you were to hitting them, so the next shot can be even more precise. Once the target has realized that they're being shot at, they'll start to move much more erratically. This usually means moving and weaving left and right at regular intervals. However, most players will still move in a regular pattern, so they'll run left for 1 second, right for 1 second. The time to shoot is when they are changing direction from left to right, as that will be the time when the character stays still for a split second. If you manage to hit the target, the most likely thing they will do is start to run for cover. This is when you'll start to adjust your aim for where you think they're going to run into cover. So if they're about to run into a doorway, hold your aim on the door and shoot when you think they're about to run into it. My advice for whether to go for a body shot or a headshot is based on their movement. If the target is completely still, then by all means, go for the headshot. However, if the target is moving, then you're much more likely to get a hit consistently if you go for the body, which is a much larger hitbox. In Apex Legends, pacing and momentum is very important, and if you're missing a load of shots because you're just trying to go for headshots, you're eventually going to run out of rounds and you're going to get pushed, and you're not causing any pressure on the enemy team. Both the longbow and the Kraber have very similar projectile speeds, with the Kraber having just 3% more projectile speed than the longbow. Essentially, this means that if you can get used to the bullet velocity of one of the guns, you should be able to use the other one with relative ease. Let's talk about positioning and movement whilst using a sniper. In this game, there is no deficit to moving and shooting with a sniper rifle. As you can see, with the longbow, I can move left and right, and as long as I'm adjusting my aim whilst moving, the shots are still accurate. However, it is still harder to hit a target whilst you're moving left and right. As a sniper, you should never be standing completely still, because this opens you up to other sniper players who could essentially take you out in 1 or 2 shots. If anything, you should only ever stand still when you're just about to take your shot. Teach yourself to only stop moving when you're just about to take the final shot, and try and aim while still moving somewhat left and right. As a sniper, you should capitalize on the fact that you do a maximum amount of damage within 1 bullet. However, because of the high damage, you then have a longer time between each shot. This means that you should be using cover between each shot when you're rechambering the round. So if you're using something like a Kraber, which has a very long time between the shots, you should be firing and then getting into cover whilst you're doing that reload animation. So when using a sniper, the best thing to do is to find yourself some cover that you can peek from more than one angle. So small rocks are really good for this, because if you only have one angle to peek from, the enemy sniper can hold their aim on that one angle and eventually shoot when you peek. When you have cover with multiple angles, you can pick which side and confuse the enemy by not always peeking in the same place. Finding a spot which has cover and elevation is probably the best way to go. So characters like Pathfinder can get up on high cliffs and high buildings, meaning that it's very unlikely that a player can creep up behind them and kill them without them noticing. If a player does manage to get behind you or close to you whilst you're trying to snipe, obviously try and take a secondary like the Wingman or the Peacekeeper for close to medium range, as those are very effective at that range. However, if you don't have time to change weapons, as a last resort, you can try hip firing the weapon. Hip fire requires you to be very close to the target, and even then the shots can go anywhere within the aiming reticule. The best way to teach yourself how to use the range and mil dot system is to go into the training range and pick up the Kraber just after you've spoken to Bloodhound. So now let's talk about hitting targets at longer ranges. In this game, you have bullet drop, so gravity affects the round as it's traveling. This means that you have to aim higher on the scope when the enemy is further away. Luckily for us, a lot of these calculations can be bypassed by using the scoped in distance display and mil dots. This is the first game that I've played that has implemented a dynamic mil dot system which will accurately show you where to aim. So for instance, let's say you want to shoot a guy at 100 meters away. Aim at the target, notice that the mil dots will shuffle around and look at the distance below your scope. Adjust your aim higher depending on the distance and fire when the correct mil dot is on the target. The mil dots on the scope represent how many meters they are away. So 1 is 100 meters, 2 is 200 meters, and so on. So obviously not every target is going to be at exactly 100 or 200 meters away. So let's say that the enemy is 150 meters away. That means that you need to aim exactly halfway between the number 1 mil dot and the number 2 mil dot. So to recap my main points for sniping in Apex Legends: aim in front of your target when they're moving. If the target is stationary, go for the headshot. If the target is moving, go for a body shot. Try and always be moving at least left and right when you're not firing a shot, and do not stand still. Always try and find a spot to peek from that has more than one angle, and possibly with elevation as well. If your targets manage to get close enough to fight you at close range, switch to your secondary, or as a last resort, use hip fire to take them down. Or try and escape from the enemy and get back to your team as quickly as possible. I hope these tips help you out with sniping in Apex Legends. If anything helps you out at all, then make sure to leave a like if it's something that you've discovered for the first time. If not, make sure to leave a comment letting me know what I've missed out that's important when sniping in this game. Thank you very much for watching this video, and maybe in future I'll do some more tutorial videos as well. Thanks for watching.